The USS Nassau was laid down the 27th of November 1941 by the Seattle-Tacoma Shipbuilding Corporation of Tacoma, Washington, as MC No. 234, launched the 4th of April 1942, sponsored by Mrs. G.H. Hasselman, Tongue Point, Oregon, acquired by the Navy the 1st of May, towed to the Puget Sound Navy Yard, Bremerton, Washington, and converted to an escort aircraft carrier, and commissioned on the 20th of August. Captain Austin K. Doyle in command. Nassau was one of 37 Tacoma-built C-3 CVEs, of which 26 went to the Royal Navy. It was one of the 10 Bogue-class escort carriers that served in the U.S. Navy. Service history. On 10 October, Nassau arrived at the Naval Air Station, Alameda, California, loaded aircraft, and 4 days later steamed for Pearl Harbor, thence to Palmyra Island, arriving 30 October. For the next 4 months, she operated between Palmyra and Noumea, New Caledonia, and Espiritu Santo, New Hebrides. Nassau returned to Pearl Harbor 14 February 1943, embarked personnel and aircraft, and sailed 21 February on a ferry mission to Espiritu Santo. She returned to Pearl Harbor in mid-March and then continued on to Alameda, California. In April, she moved to San Diego and conducted flight training operations, after which she rendezvoused with Task Group 51.1 and steamed for Cold Bay, Alaska with Composite Squadron 21 embarked. Nassau got underway on a search mission 4 May, and conducted flight operations with Task Force 51, providing air cover for the occupation of Attu Island from the 11th of May through the 20th of May. She returned to San Diego in late May, arrived at Alameda the 8th of June and unloaded 45 aircraft destined for Brisbane, Australia. She delivered the aircraft the 2nd of July and returned to San Diego via Noumea, New Caledonia. In August, she trained off San Diego before ferrying planes to Samoa. Returning to San Diego from Samoa, the 19th of October, Nassau embarked Marine Fighter Squadron 225 for passage to Pearl Harbor. Arriving the 30th of October, she conducted air operations off Pearl Harbor during the early days of November, and on the 7th of November, she embarked Fighter Squadron 7 and steamed for the Gilbert Islands for operations with Task Force 52. Nassau's mission was to transport VF-1 to Tarawa and to send it ashore as soon as facilities were available. The invasion of Tarawa commenced the 20th of November but encountered bitter resistance. As a result, VF-1 was assigned combat air patrol and flew bombing and strafing runs from the carrier in support of the assault troops. The squadron flew a total of 106 missions and spent 237 hours of flying time in 4 days of operations without losing a single plane or pilot. Nassau returned to Pearl Harbor on the 5th of December following flight operations. She then sailed to the Marshall Islands with Task Group 51.2 and launched strikes the 29th of January 1944 against Tarawa Field on Maloelap Atoll. The next day, the task group centered its operations around Kwajalein, Watia, and Maloelap Atolls, with Nassau conducting both anti-submarine and combat air patrols. Nassau returned to Pearl Harbor the 3rd of March, disembarked VC-66, and took on aircraft, cargo, and passengers for ferry to the Marshall Islands. Throughout March, ferry missions were performed between Kwajalein, Majuro, and Pearl Harbor. After repairs and alterations at Mare Island Navy Yard, the carrier sailed with 51 aircraft for Finschhafen, New Guinea the 5th of May. The next 4 months she performed ferry missions from San Diego to Pearl Harbor, the Admiralties and the New Hebrides Islands. Upon arrival at Seattle Harbor the 1st of September, Nassau reported to Commander Task Group 30.8. Thus began her tour of duty with Admiral Halsey's Third Fleet, which made unprecedented naval history in the following months. Nassau's mission was to operate out of the Admiralties with other escort carriers to provide replacement aircraft and pilots for the attack carriers of Task Force 38. Steaming in company with the oiler groups, which refueled the ships of the task force at sea, Nassau made 3 cruises into the western Pacific. She returned to the Admiralties with disabled aircraft which were destined for shipment to Pearl Harbor or the United States for reconditioning. The first of these replacement trips was in support of the strikes against Palau, the second in support of operations against the southern and central Philippines. Then Task Force 38 shifted to more northerly targets in the Philippines and Formosa. Nassau reached Manus on the 20th of October. After offloading old aircraft and taking on new ones, she departed on her last replacement trip, steaming to Ulithi Atoll in the Caroline Islands. She joined up with task groups 38.1 and 38.3 on the 28th of October and transferred 70 aircraft and 43 pilots to the attack carriers. Task Unit 12.6.1, composed of Nassau, Tennessee and 4 other ships, steamed for Pearl Harbor the 5th of November, arriving the 16th of November. 2 days later, Nassau was dispatched to San Diego. Among her passengers were 382 survivors of Princeton, which was sunk in the Battle of Leyte Gulf, the 24th of October 1944. Another ferry mission to Pearl Harbor followed in mid-November, with 3 more runs to Guam in December, January 1945, and February. Nassau returned to Alameda, California, the 23rd of March and through the remainder of the war, performed transport and ferry missions between Alameda, Pearl Harbor, Guam, Manus, Samar and Saipan. Nassau departed Alameda the 13th of May 1946 for Tacoma, Washington. On the 28th of October, she decommissioned and entered the Pacific Reserve Fleet. Designated for modification for aircraft transportation purposes, her classification was changed to CVE-16, the 12th of June 1955. Shortly thereafter she transferred to the Bremerton Reserve Group, and was struck from the Navy Register, the 1st of March 1959. In June 1961, she was towed to Japan for scrapping. Awards. Nassau received 5 battle stars for World War II service.